I just pictured they're like, "Go, the judge is coming," and he's just going.
They're parked. They're like a drive-through. It's like, yes, I'd like 2 chalupas, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Touch it.
Touch
Just
it.
touch it. Touch it a little
Touch
bit. Just a little bit. I mean, it can be an accident.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Stories and Stogies. We're a group of buddies that go up into the currently frozen mountains of West Virginia, puff on some stogies, and talk about stories or movies, really. It's just the whole, not anecdotal, the thing where it's like Peter Parker, where it's like 2 S's, but not the SS, so that would be bad. Anywho, actually, that's kind of satirical because the whole point of the original 2000 AD, I think it was called, and Judge Dredd comic series was satire about the future and dystopia and all this bullshit. So, with all that being said, well, I guess I should introduce everyone. So, I'm Jono. This is my shed and my cable spool we're sitting at. To my left, technically, is...
Do you know your left from your right?
Well, it was a circle, so I don't know.
We're at the round table.
Yeah, it is.
It's to the left.
To the left, to the left, to the left, to the left.
So I've got Paul to my left and Webb to my right. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Jesus,
Smart
I
ass.
love you, Webb. So last week we talked about, it was our inaugural episode. We talked about, what was it called? Blazing Saddles. Yeah. And we smoked the Perdomo champagne. This week we watched the 2012 Dredd movie, and we are currently smoking Rough Rider Sweets, Indian Head, handmade, the Rough Rider Sweets. That's all you gotta know. There's like 2 different.
That's all you
kinds.
need to know.
Yeah. So they say Indian Head, but we found it appropriate because there's kind of motor. Actually, the bikes in this movie were functional.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty cool.
That's right. They didn't have to stop.
Yeah.
Or drop.
Or set up shop, I think.
You had to shut it down first.
So, this movie, Dredd, from 2012. I'm just going to give some basic info. What did I wrote down a bunch of shit, now I can't find it. It was directed by Pete Davis. And going to be honest, I looked at the other things he's directed, and I didn't recognize anything.
Did you say Pete Davis or Pete Travis?
Pete Davis?
I think it's Travis.
Fuck. Thank you. Is it?
Is that
Pete Travis?
Yeah.
Fuck. Pete Travis. Okay. To be fair, I was distracted while I was writing these notes.
Okay.
Didn't want,
Thank you.
somebody chiming in like going, man, you guys don't know what the F you're talking about, man.
Someone goes to watch a movie and they're like, everything matches except the director's last name. I don't think it's the same
So
movie.
he actually hasn't done very much, but he did. So as a director, he did Vantage Point.
Never heard of it.
Never.
I think that's the one with Is this the one? Yeah, with Dennis Quaid, Matthew
Never heard of
Fox. Okay.
Yeah, right.
It actually wasn't interesting. It was a.
You mean Cousin Eddie's brother?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck.
Well,
okay.
yeah, the one that actually can act though, and not just
Hey,
talk about the shitter. I know.
don't
I love
you
Randy Quaid.
sully
I love Randy. I know.
Randy's awesome.
No, it actually was an interesting movie. It was a off topic, but it was a assassination movie, and it's called Vantage Point because it examines it from the vantage of different people. I think I want to say Dennis Quaid was like a Secret Service agent, something like that. And then there's like someone in the crowd. Then there's the person. I think it's different people, but he did that. Really, Dredd, and then City of Tiny Lights.
Never heard of it.
Never.
I've never heard of it. And then he did like some TV movies. So really, this was
Pretty much one and done.
well, it's funny because I mean, you do like Vantage Point with like Dennis Quaid, and it had Matthew Fox at like the height of Matthew
Never
Fox's
heard of him.
popularity. Have you really never heard of Matthew Fox?
You mean the black guy?
No, he was the guy from
Ray Charles guy?
no, what was the
Matthew Fox?
yeah, crap. What was the island people stuck on the island? Oh my god.
Oh, that
Yes,
guy.
That guy. Yeah. What oh god, why
Lost?
Yes.
Was it called Lost?
Yes.
I never watched Lost.
I watched the
Is
I
he
watched a little
related
bit
to
of
Michael or
probably not.
He is Michael. No, he's Matthew.
Michael J?
No, I think he's related to the Black Fox. Oh, actually, no. That's
What
a
did the
children's-
fox say?
Francis Fox Jr. and Bayard Fox are
Bayard.
his siblings.
Wow, they sound rich.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Bayard.
so Pete Travis was the director, so not Pete Davis.
Pete,
um,
yeah.
Pete Travis, who really hasn't done. I mean, I guess Vantage Point was a decent movie. I've never seen the other things he's done. Yes.
What bothers me is this movie, and depending where you look it up, IMDb, Wiki, blah blah blah. I found that it had a budget of 35 to 40 million. Another place said a budget of 50 million, but it grossed worldwide about 41 million.
Yeah, I'm not
So-
surprised.
Oh, you didn't like it?
I've got
Oh, spoilers,
thoughts.
spoilers,
We'll go through it.
Hey,
but,
spoiler alert, assholes.
well, this whole show's a spoiler
Yeah.
alert. We established that.
Yes.
If you're watching a movie review discussion,
As we figured out, was 22 years old.
yeah.
Than on last episode. But yeah, so spoiler alerts.
yes. But I don't know. I'm surprised that I'm not.
They lost money. Like, even if you do the well, no, in one way they made $1 million. But fucking, how did Twilight fucking whatever? I'm okay.
Well,
I'm okay.
I can.
There were sparkles in this. Twilight had sparkles. What did Twilight gross?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But you weren't taking like your 13-year-old daughter to see this. Well, I would have.
Father of the Year. Hell yeah.
Well, I think I get it though. I mean, one, you don't have anybody big in it.
I guess Carl Urban wasn't huge yet.
No, I mean, I like Carl Urban. I like a lot of the roles he's played, but he's not that marquee name. I think maybe he was probably hoping for that with this, kind of, because I think this was around that time he was trying to branch out and do some things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Carl Urban was really it.
Lena Headey, who played Mama.
Yeah.
Well, should I do a synopsis?
Well, yeah, we haven't done the synopsis.
Yeah, so
yet,
let me run through some stuff real quick, just to not to cut you off. Oh, the director was Pete David.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's what I already wrote. It was Pete Travis. Fuck. It was written by John Wagner and Carlos Escurra. Basically, the literal guys that created the Judge Dredd,
Yeah.
created Judge Dredd, the comic book.
Yeah.
Which was, that is a dream.
Yeah.
Like the appreciation that you can have in a movie when you realize the people that created it and wrote it. The Carlos unfortunately died in 2018, but I should have spit that way. It's easier. But John Wagner, I think, was the writer, and Carlos was the artist. But they both created it together. That made me so happy to see that, to read that, and then screenplay was by some guy called Alex Garland. It starred Curl Urban, as Curl Urban as Judge Dredd.
Are you having a stroke?
A little bit. I keep trying to hold my cigar on
Are
this
you
side.
trying to
and it
read
falls
your own
out.
handwriting?
No, that one I was reading on the laptop.
Oh. Do you need glasses?
I might need my lasers again. So Carl Urban as Judge Dredd, Olivia Thirlby as Judge Anderson, or rookie Judge Anderson, which
I mean, like,
God, I hope that was her in that
Rookie?
really far off
you mean
The
like
rookie?
nude scene.
you mean like the C-list Scarlett Johansson?
Yes. Yes, but I kind of like her more. And she's in that Oppenheimer movie.
Yeah. No, she was good. She was
Yeah,
good.
I don't know. And if those were her boobies, then I'm happy. Lena Headey, or is it Headley?
Headley.
It's Headley.
No, it's Heady.
Headey?
No L.
Headey. So Lena Headey, who was Mama or that chick from Game of Thrones, apparently
Very big chick
yeah,
in that
and
movie.
I was reading that she was filming parts of this during Game of Thrones. So she was a rising big name. And that's pretty much it. I think
Was this pre Game of Thrones?
No, I think it was during.
I think this is like
okay.
right at the start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she was like hopping back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, if this was like mid Game of Thrones, she wouldn't have done both. I think
Yeah,
I think it was
probably
too
not,
big at that point, but I think this was still probably very early on. So
she's like, fuck my brother. Do
Yeah,
some
because she went
drugs.
all the way through season 7, all the way. So.
I think Ludacris was in that. Oh no, it was
No.
Wood Harris.
it's just another actor. It's horrible. You are a bad person.
I do think that that guy from Star Wars was in. Who's the guy with the fucked up eyes? The redhead with the long hair. Wasn't he like that douchebag double spy in the new Star Wars movies that never should have been created?
I don't know, but
I
I
don't
can't
know.
feel my feet.
I can't think of his name.
might have been.
Control over driver, passenger. I don't even know.
Door closed. John, close the door.
Close the door.
Yeah, Webby's dying over here.
Well, fun fact, went out, shoveled the driveway out this morning, so my feet may be still kind of cold from that. So
I know, but it's funny. He's in short sleeves. I at least have my little blanket. I'm cozy. And but like you're like, I got my thermals on. Then you're like, I'm cool.
Oh, I'm good, all except for my feet. My feet are the only thing right now
Your
that are
tootsies.
suffering.
Porteous
Yeah.
Sandu.
Anyway, it's
But that's the problem I have anyway. Is
but
my
that's
feet, so.
but I think that's the issue that you see with it is that it you know from even a marketing perspective, you didn't have the big actors that you would maybe hope for. I mean, some good people for sure, but just not the people that are gonna like instantly pull that draw that you maybe hope for. And I did like that it was truer to the comics. It wasn't so. I mean, you know, the one with Stallone was it was a very early mid 90s action sci-fi kind of thing. So
Did either of you guys watch the Stallone one?
I've seen
this week.
I've seen that so many times. I didn't need to watch it again.
I was literally
I've never seen that movie.
no,
I've never seen either one of these.
literally the first in a Judge Dredd futuristic dystopia action sci-fi movie. The first character you see on screen is Rob fucking Schneider.
Yeah, it is awesome.
You see him before you see the main character.
I'm gonna see it. I'm just saying that I haven't seen it. However, after watching this one, now watching the other one, am I gonna be disappointed?
I was disappointed that there was nobody hiding in the little machine when it's out there
Recycle
mopping
your
the floor.
food. It's good for the environment and okay for you. I was literally watching it until you guys got here. Well, I was watching it then.
I had to give Webby like the 30-second synopsis of that in the truck on the way over.
Yeah.
Because he's never seen it. So I was like, well, let me give you like the high level of what that's about. There was some things I
love it.
and
I'm just gonna put it out there.
I
There's
like
plenty of bad.
I like
but
it. But anyways, continue with you haven't even.
I can see why you like it.
So at this point, we know who's in the movie. What's the movie about?
Yes, the synopsis. So it is the future. The future. I should know what time, but I don't know. So I'm vamping until I can read the actual date, which I don't know. So it's the future. The world is separated into mega cities. It's basically like. Now, I haven't read the comics in a while, which this is one reason I love this movie is because 2080?
2080.
2080, thank you. The year is 2080. Wow, we're not that far.
Cursed Earth.
Cursed Earth.
They're in Mega City.
So,
Look what we have to look forward to. Or maybe you do. I don't. But
I don't want to make it that far.
I mean, at this point, I don't know if any of us are. I mean, it is like 50 years, over 50 years from now. We're not young bucks. Well, he is.
Yeah,
you'll be in your
kinda.
90s. Yeah, I'm done in 20. So
So the the 2-sentence synopsis is: cop does drug bust, lots of people die. The actual story is there is a distant utopian future where mega cities basically create countries instead. And there's this one, police and judges and executioners are all now combined into one entity called a judge. And there's this one judge, without getting into his comic book past and actually the Stallone past, he's a clone, blah, blah, blah. This dude fucking just tries to do a drug bust in a super tall 200-story apartment complex that's like from that French movie where that guy jumped stuff. And
slum tower block.
Basically that movie, but in French. And
Oui, Zale.
Pipi.
Pipi.
And
we all know.
He's training a rookie who is a psychic, and they get locked into this. It's just completely locked down, the entire building. It would be the most amazing airsoft or paintball arena. And basically, they have to work their way to the top to stop this drug lord, like, and just end it. That's the super basic thing. He's trying to go through. This Judge Dredd character is by the book, frowning all the time, like perfect judge. He's judge, jury, and executioner. That's what every cop basically now is. And I'm not doing it. Yeah. These days too.
Horrible.
But I feel bad because we were going to be like, oh, he doesn't like cops. No,
it was
just, oh, the times are rough.
they are. Anyways,
just don't fight the police.
It pretty much is. Just
do what they say.
One, like don't break the law, and then I mean,
it's easy.
Not so easy for some people to say, but I mean, Anyways, we're a bunch of white guys in the mountains.
Yeah,
we don't really have much context.
We like, my neighborhood's been told by the sheriff's department, like, take care of it yourselves. We don't feel like going up there.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and I live in a state where there's like 7 million armed people too, so it's what are you gonna do?
So anywho,
PA actually has one of the, it's like an incredible amount of people that can take care. It's
even though they're
excellent.
liberal.
Hey, doesn't matter.
Oh, cool. No, hey.
George Clooney owns guns.
Well, I mean, Philadelphia doesn't own guns, so that's why you're okay.
I don't own guns. Guns are bad. They go off randomly, and they're
who owns
racist.
guns?
Guns are bad.
Anyways,
so that's pretty much all of my beginning notes. Like, I figure we can go into the good, the bad, and the stogie at the end. But I also want to talk about Sly Stone's movie a lot.
But anyways, I mean, so the instant good is that this is like you said, this is written by the guys that made the comic, so it is much truer to the comic. The Stallone version's more comedy-ish, like more kind of fantasy-like.
They used fake futuristic curse words.
Yeah,
Rob Schneider. I mean, Jesus Christ, like Rob Schneider.
Well, I mean,
in a good way. In a good way.
Right. I mean, it was, but so this was definitely truer to the comic, and it had a lot of comic book elements to it. Like when, in the action scenes, and they played it off well by, so there's a drug that is what the drug lord does, and it's called slow-mo, and it basically makes your brain feel like it's operating at 1% of like normal time. So
it's used like an inhaler, like for your kid.
So when they do the action scenes, it is pretty cool because it slows everything down. So it almost gives a comic book like, so like when someone's getting shot, it's like that almost frozen bullet pen, like, so it's a little gory, which is kind of cool, and it's a little funny the way they do the animation to it, or the CGI to it. Like that took me a minute to kind of get comfortable with, because I was, I had to really think back to the type of movie that it was.
Yes.
Because that was like when I first watched it, I was like, I didn't know if I really liked that. Like it was just it was, to me, it was very Tarantino-ish.
Oh, I didn't think about
that. Was kind of how I felt with some of it. So I was like, I don't really know, but
or like The Matrix.
But sparkly.
Yeah.
And better CG.
Yeah.
And I feel that we have to tell the one IMDb trivia thing that fucking everyone knows and always fucking says whenever fucking someone talks about this movie, which is super annoying, and I'm vamping while I try and find the actual thing, but the sound effect during the slow motion slow-mo scenes is a Justin Bieber song slowed down by like 80%.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Everyone.
Well, that's how it sounds the best.
That was good.
Wouldn't want to hear it any other way.
Either 80 times slow or off.
Exactly.
But it definitely
Sorry for your Justin Bieber fans.
yeah, sorry, my bad. But it was very, here we go. The slow motion sound effect is based on a Justin Bieber song that was slowed down to 1/800th of normal speed.
Cool.
So anytime anyone fucking brings up this movie, they're like, "Oh, you know, slow motion sound was Justin Bieber." Okay, cool. Fuck off.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
Well,
it's
I
like the
knew it
one
'cause
thing
you said
people-
something about it last week. Didn't we were
did?
talking about it?
I think my brother-in-law did. Yeah, because he's one of those people.
Anyway.
No offense, Eric. Sorry if you're listening. Thanks for the support.
But yeah.
But, so that's a huge thing. But I do to back you on that. When I was watching it, I just let myself remember this is a comic book movie.
Yeah, you have to remember that.
So some of the goofiness and the sparkly pop out of the page, one might say, kind of art style. I loved it. The only thing that I didn't like at a random point was the scene when Mama was walking down a hallway with like one of the bad guys at the beginning, and they had a very grainy filter on the camera, and I was like, okay. But then like the next scene, it's like a close up on Judge Dredd, and you can like see his dimples.
It's almost like yeah. So the one thing I didn't like, and it was more.
Should we save it for the bad? Should we go
yeah,
all good?
We can stay all good.
Not to cut you off.
So,
I don't know if we should do like all good and all bad.
We'll do
or
that.
something.
But so one thing I thought, so especially when you think like more comic booky, but I kind of like the way that it ended. It was just a hilarious moment when he judges Mama.
Oh
and he basically made her take the inhaler, and so how do you plead? And she just says there, he's like, defense noted, and then he throws her out the window. But the slow mo is great because he throws her, and then his hand just up like this, almost like he's like waving by. It's just like, and he's just standing there, and it was because it's all slow mo. He's just standing there, just watching.
And
her
like
fall
his
with
other
hand on.
arm. Did you notice his other arm when they like did the back view of like her view, and his other arm? He was like. Had this weird, like, almost scarecrow doing the robot.
Well, I think they're trying to make him look maybe, I don't know, maybe it's like bigger,
Don't
but
you,
just the hand up, like almost like waving as she like almost like saying like bye.
Isn't the purpose of the slow motion because they're all on that one drug that they're trying to like get everybody, because it slows down their thought process like I don't know how many times, but I think that's what it's supposed to be.
1/800th of a Beaver song.
Of a Beaver song, yes. So that's actually a cool effect, to be honest.
Oh, I love it. It like slow motion can be very overused in movies. I feel they didn't overuse it, and I feel that they used it very well. In this
But their
movie.
intent was dead on.
Yeah,
with each intent
It was good.
of using it.
But
I loved it.
and the plot was simple. Like, and that's what I kind of liked. Like,
Oh my god, it was a video game.
like the original one, like, it was just, there was so much just unbelief. It was just, because it was a Stallone. It was like believing the things that are happening, and just, they try to like make this complicated spin. Like, it's pretty straightforward.
If you retire, you're sent out to a desert to die, but you're one of the most honorable people in the world, but you're going to try
But then somehow he gets back into the walled city through a what? It's like events like
it was a
flames
and
like,
fucking
and timed it exactly right.
Rob Schneider falls, and it's just like, help me,
Right.
rather than getting the fuck up. But again, 1995,
Yes,
Stallone movie.
I want to eat them, Paul.
Dude, I still to this day think that's not Robin Williams. Who's the guy that did The Mask? Oh my god,
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
Oh God, it could have been.
Doesn't he look like Jim
does
Carrey
a
and
little
kind
bit.
of sound
A
like
little.
he's talking like a
Yeah.
redneck?
Yeah,
Always think that.
but I liked it. It was a simple story. I mean, it really was. It was they're there for a drug bust. They, while they're and essentially the guy that they're arresting has information that Mama doesn't want to get out. So she's basically like, okay, well, we're just going to kill the police. Like,
she's trying to kill them and get him back. They're trying to get up to her. It was set up like...
because they don't have a choice. It's like pretty much for them to get out, they have to kill her. And so, they're just basically just trying to save themselves.
Yeah. And they go floor by floor with different mini bosses till they get to the top boss. It's like you said, simple.
Yeah.
It's just simple and good. I loved it. What do you think, Webb?
Oh, we're not discussing bad right now, but
oh, true. Well, so you disagree though. So we'll save your opinions for the bad.
I liked like how simple it was, like Paul mentioned. I liked the fact that like it kept it minimal as far as characters, the roles. The action was good. I thought a lot of the the CGI was pretty good. The slow-mo, all the effects.
It was pretty good.
It was.
I thought it was a very good rendition of the storyline. I think they may have kind of like went over the top in some of it. We'll discuss that later.
Okay.
But
yeah.
So I have a history of Judge Dredd, one having seen the 95 movie and having read the comics.
And I have not
all of them. Paul at least saw the 95 and Dredd.
I've seen both. I am aware of the comics. I've never read the comics, so I don't have that context. But I've read comics, so
But Webb's coming from this with no, like, did you even know who Judge Dredd was?
I've heard the movie before. I've just never.
So it's like the zeitgeist.
It wasn't my type at the time of watching.
So you came into this like, who's this guy? Why is he like this?
I watched it a couple times and read through a lot of the online synopses and stuff that.
Dude.
But
Hell yeah.
All in all, if I was to grade the movie, which we'll talk about that later, I would say I was probably more negative than positive. But
yeah, we should start like a 1 out of 10.
But it was entertaining. And I'll leave it at that.
Why don't we just do like a Stogie scale, like a 1 to 3, since there's.
I like that.
Speaking of Stogie, this is pretty damn good,
isn't it? They're great. We'll talk about them when we're done. But yeah, they're Rough Rider sweets. Again, these came from cigarsdaily.com. Tim, hi. But they're flavored cigars, and they're not super expensive. I think these are like $5 each for. I think this was like a 6x50. So you're smoking currently my favorite cigar to date. It is a 6x60 Drew Estate Factory Smoke Maduro Cuban sandwich.
It's yummy.
Like I love those.
It's good.
Is that a little darker?
It is. It is like the other fact, because like the one I had the one factory smoke from him the other day, and it was very sweet. Like this isn't sweet. But it's not too heavy though either.
Which is funny because Maduro is, we've been still doing Duolingo. Maduro is mature or aged tobacco leaf during the fermentation process. I could be wrong. We'll do more research, but that should be sweeter. Like the sweet that you smoke, they literally they dip it in either honey or some kind of sweetener. But just for straight tobacco, that's actually a sweet cigar.
Yeah,
and my aftertaste when I finish those cigars, I love it. It doesn't. You don't feel like you just smoked.
No,
like you have a nice lingering taste.
I think that's the good thing, because this really could be a much heavier taste, but it's not. That's what I say. It keeps it mild.
Now, just for educational purposes, I'm a novice, just getting into the tobacco side of the smoking the cigars. The factory cigar, is that more of like a knockoff to like?
It's the economy brand. So literally, these are called long. I actually don't know if Rough Riders are long filler. I don't know if it says on the thing. So you have very roughly two types of cigars: long filler and short filler. So when they make a cigar, they take typically, I think, Nicaraguan leaves. They take an entire leaf or two or three or whatever, and they bunch them together, and they kind of cut it and shape it. And then they roll it in a binder leaf, which that could be Nicaraguan, Honduran, wherever. And then they take that, and that's like tightly rolled. And then they put that into a press to like form its shape. And then so you have like a properly shaped and sized cigar. Then they take it out of that, and the part of the cigar that you can actually see and that your lips touch and the outside is called the wrapper. And that is typically where you get the flavor from what I've read. And what they'll do is they roll that, and then they cut it, clean it, and they put a little cap on and all that. So there's 3 different leaves you can typically have in a cigar. That is called a short, and so that's called a long filler. So you have an entire leaf going the entire way. So if you like bit the end and pulled, you could get an entire leaf. Those are called Cuban sandwiches or short filler, where it's, not to compare them to cigarettes, but that's all the chopped up leftover stuff. They chop it up, and then they do the same process. They put it in a binder, then press it, then put it in a wrapper. So it's cheaper. So like Drew Estate is a very nice, they have like $40 cigars. That's their economy brand, where they take all the good stuff and make cheap ones.
So I noticed with this one, compared to the last one, last week, this one seems to be rolled tighter.
Mm-hmm.
It's
pretty. You'll get that with the long, because I think you just, when you have that long filler, it's because it's whole leaves and the way that it's done, it's gonna.
So you can tell the difference just by smoking it, just because like this one, I can tell it's more dense.
So there's also the draw, which is how hard it is to suck
It's a little
the air
bit harder.
through.
I think this one's a little bit harder to draw.
So
compared to last week's.
Last week, my Perdomo, I had kind of a hard draw, and this one is drawing I like a loose draw. I don't want to like it's a thick milkshake.
Well, we noticed. He knows how loose you like it.
He does not want to suck too hard.
Yeah,
he likes it.
I don't want to work for it.
as easy as it can be.
But that's a big thing. Is these are all handmade. So literally, there could be one person, maybe his wife was yelling at him that morning, so he's grabbing the leaves and packing them a little tighter this time.
Maybe he's yelling at his wife and she's grabbing a little harder.
Or she's grabbing it a little harder and she's working at the booth next to him.
That's what she said.
And then they wrap it. Like, it's all a natural handmade product. So that's something I read is like people say like, this cigar has a tight draw or a hard draw. And I'm like, that's weird because I had one and it was super... loose.
I think
they're handmade products.
Any handmade, you're going to have variants. It's just going to happen.
They do make a tool called like a perfect draw or something. It's like a long needle with little barbs, and you like stick it down the center and pull on it, and it's supposed to loosen it.
Well, it basically almost makes like a funnel, like a tunnel, and then that way when you pull, it just makes
air circulation.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I have one. I've never seen a difference.
I don't think I'd want. I mean, the way I look at it, if it draws a little harder, okay, then it takes me a few extra minutes to smoke it. It's not a big deal.
I don't enjoy it as much. I've actually put some down and just like
that's
stopped.
because for you, if you don't finish smoking it in 10 minutes, you're like, I'm bored. I need a new one.
Another.
Webby and I sat for almost.
You're just like your dog, man.
We sat for almost
Get this fetish, this mouth fetish.
Oh, Betsy.
Like the other day. It's like almost 2 hours for Webby and I when we finished the ones. Because we just, we were talking and smoking.
Yeah, but we were also, reminiscing with a good brandy too.
We were. I didn't bring anything this time. It was just...
It's all good.
It was early. I like having a good drink. I feel weird. I'm definitely one of those where it's like I'm not gonna be drinking it. Like it's in the morning.
Yeah, it's
so
11,
like,
12.
The roads are a little bit more sketchy,
Yeah,
so you kind of like want to make sure you're.
Yeah, I didn't. I got
snowed a few days ago. Then it snowed again last night or 2 nights ago.
Exactly.
It's tough out here.
We got quite a bit of snow.
We're not getting out of here. Well, we didn't get in here without the 4-wheel drive. We're not getting out of here without it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to, But I do have a bottle of Powers that I'll probably bring the next time.
Hell yeah.
So. I've had just a little bit of it. I have that in my my nightcap glass.
Nice.
So
you think we should because I remember years and years ago when I used to be a volunteer fireman, we used to have our own cups at the fire hall. So when you showed up, you didn't have to worry about using somebody else's cup, or when you're done with it, you wash it. Maybe we should have our own little shelf full of our own cup.
Yeah, we could do something like that. I mean? Get some little glasses. Yeah, we could do that. Definitely.
I did enjoy the plastic.
Back in the day at the firehouse, you could roofie your fellow firefighters and do the old number 6 dance on them.
That's right.
Yeah, we could do that though. We could definitely have some stuff in here.
Hell yeah. So, opening the movie, it goes up to this giant. Everything is just astronomically huge. The buildings just dark, cold concrete.
Well, because the idea is it's post-apocalyptic. Right? It's like, you know, post-nuclear war. There's I forget how many colonies, but like this is like Mega City 1, which spans from DC to Boston.
Yes.
So it's like that's one city, and then it's like wasteland until like I think out where Chicago is supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be one of the other ones.
And like
that.
out towards Cali is Mega City 2, and then I forget if I was watching the old movie or this movie, but there's Texas City.
Something like that, yeah.
Just like how they're like, fuck man, we're Texas.
We're doing our own.
We got our own power grid. But I just love the first note I wrote is during the opening, there's this like sweeping, you know, Batman, Christopher Nolan movie, sweeping view of the Hall of Justice. And there's this giant amber eagle glowing neon sign like spanning the entire width of the building, and it's so hot and burning, it's humming in your sound system. I don't know if you guys experience that, but every time I've watched this movie, it's just like
so.
And he's
like, you said that. I was going to ask that question. Hall of Justice, is this a DC movie? Is this
no?
This is not anything to do with.
No, it's actually a British comic book, which is weird. This is not DC, not Marvel. None. Wow, I feel really bad. I don't know.
It's on its own then, as far as
yes.
Okay. Because I haven't watched or seen the cartoon either, so or the comics.
Is there a cartoon?
Sorry.
God, I hope. Oh my God! Like if they
Wouldn't
made
that be
a
cool?
cartoon,
Man,
Jesus,
you got somebody coming after you, man. The light is
so cool.
It's right on the. So there's
dude,
so
it's
John,
like
Jono's back is to the door into the shed here, and there's a hole in it, and the light is shining through, and it's almost looks like someone's got like a.
It's kind of like Raiders of the Lost
like a
Ark,
scope light,
and that beam of light is shining towards the treasure.
I was thinking Frank's out there getting ready to take him out for the life insurance.
Oh, it's not worth.
Now, if that was a red beam, we'd be like, okay.
IPC Media, Rebellion Developments. I don't see publication when comics editor, blah, blah, blah. He brought John Wagner to Wagner, written 30.
Not DC or Marvel, that's what we know.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Well, you said Hall of Justice, and to me, Hall of Justice.
Justice League.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
so
all,
when I saw that, I was like,
nope,
I should have
no
looked
relation.
it up.
Nope, none. And it's kind of like Ninja Turtles. They were made by Mirage Studios at first,
right?
When Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird created them, and then they went to I think IGN or something, and then they were bought by. There's a lot of comic book. Not to go off on a tangent, but you've got Boom, IGN, Dark Horse, DC. Marvel, there's so many different. It's kind of like how you can have cable companies. Like you have like the big ones, and then like small little mom and pops. There's so many different. Like Hellraiser has a comic book series, and it's by Boom Studios. Hellraiser fucking has a comic series, like, and it's so good. But anywho, I loved that scene. I loved it.
Yeah, get your nips hard.
Yeah. And then, what made me really fall in love with this movie, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, is so it starts off with Judge Dredd chasing these guys that were like in this van, and he's on his motorcycle. I'll talk about that in the does bad section. And he's riding, and they start shooting at him. The van crashes, but right before the van full of 3 drug dealer bad guys, there's just this dude with earbuds on crossing the street, and they just fucking annihilate him. Yeah. Like
he just killed somebody.
I need to know if that was. I should have done the research. I've been doing a bunch of else, but like I think they just hit a dummy that was filled with fake blood,
probably
with the van.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it was just so wonderful. And then you skip a little bit ahead when you meet Mama for the first time, and they're at 200 stories up, and they say like, give them slow mo and throw them off the balcony so they fall. And this is when I fell in love with the movie. They had to have just taken big rubber body shaped bags full of blood and fake meat and just dropped them, because it is just so unnecessarily gory. Not like torture porn, like Saw kind of things, but it's just wham on the ground and just bursting bodies of just liquid and chunk. And then wham, wham, 2 more come down, and it shows it.
When they showed the head of that one dude, where it just looked like a freaking head pie of just mush.
Oh my god! Like, I'm a gore guy. We talked about it. I'm a horror guy.
Yeah,
like,
we figured that one.
Cause of death.
So there was something I didn't like about that, but further into that though, it just kind of confused me a bit. But
I think I know what you're talking about, and I'm excited when you bring that up. But no, those are just for the beginning. Those are some of my favorite things. Or when you when you first meet Carl Urban, where he was interviewed, more IMDb facts of he never took his helmet off. One big thing is you had to have Sylvester Stallone showing his face during that movie. He had his helmet off all the time with those pretty blue clone eyes. But Carl Urban never.
Anyone that hasn't seen the original, you just ruined something.
Spoiler. Yes, if you haven't seen the movie that was made 6 years after I was born, like, fuck you. Spoilers.
Spoilers for the other one that we didn't review.
And the comic that came out in 1977, which has the same fucking story.
Nobody read the comic.
I know.
Dude. I'm sorry.
But he apparently never took his helmet off. Even like during like off scenes, he kept his helmet on the whole time, which is awesome because that's how Judge Dredd is.
Yeah.
But he's just this badass, like, just amazing character, and he pulls up during like a firefight and like or he's chasing the car, and the radio comes over. Do you need backup? No, like, just no. It was so good, and just keeps chasing him.
Yeah,
I loved it.
It was good.
What do you guys feel about that chase scene?
I don't know. I think the one thing I didn't hate it. Like, I mean, that was funny. It almost felt a bit. I mean, it didn't really have anything to do with the story other than introducing the drug slightly. That's one thing I didn't like about it, was because, like, the dude in the back is basing on it, and then as soon as, like, we've got a judge, and then all of a sudden he was up and at him. He's in the back, but he's in the back, using this drug, like, actively inhaling it, and then they're like, there's a judge behind us, and then all of a sudden he's up and at him and shooting and stuff, like,
up and at them.
But it was when you learn about the drug, like, you're not like any drug, like, you're not just snapping out of the effects of it that quickly. True. Like, there's definitely, like, there can be sobering moments when you're, like, if you're, but once when you're on something like that, like what it's meant to be in the movie, like, that dude would have just been passed out in the back of that van. Like, by the time he even reacted, they would have been wrecked and upside down. Like, he had no, and then of course there's the whole hostage scene that follows it. Like, that dude was in no condition for any of that because he was actively smoking.
He would have been holding the gun to her, and then like he was holding this lady hostage at like a food cart.
Yeah,
he would have dropped her and just grabbed a Chiquito or something. Right, like, this is great.
Right,
hot shot.
Yeah. So that's one thing I didn't like about it, was just, it wasn't a bad, that threw me off instantly though. I'm just like, he was just, and all of a sudden, like, because you have a lot of movies like that where it's, all of a sudden there's a cop behind him and the guys are all shooting and up and up. But like, this guy was
excellent aim.
But this guy was in the middle of smoking a drug that makes you operate at 1% of time, essentially. Like,
I didn't write that down as a bad, but I did notice that.
Yeah.
Like, I did, like, it was just, he takes the hit and it's, and then it flips to him and he's fine.
Right. It's like,
there's a judge.
Yeah, I'm like,
popped out.
Because it kind of threw me off. I'm like, well, if you can recover that quickly from it, then that kind of negates a lot of the stuff in the movie.
Webb's sitting back there. He's like, I grew up in the 70s. You guys don't know what that shit was like.
But I mean, that's like, because obviously, like,
secondhand.
So many of the action scenes, especially early on, are people that are actively using this drug, and so the scenes they go into that. Like when he busts into the one room and just starts taking out all those people, like, they're all on this drug. So he's basically just picking them off like it's not like he's trying to win a stuffed animal at the carnival, and they're just chilling. Like he's like, I want the squirrel, and they're just and he's just knocking them out like they're barely moving.
Well, they barely can move.
Right.
Dave's not home. And
like-
blah 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 blah.
Right. Exactly. So it's like in that scene, like it's like it's like the guy's driving is one thing, but
That's a really good
I'm just like,
point.
man, it's like this guy just snaps. I'm like, it just
One guy's driving.
so I don't know what just happened.
I don't know.
I just pictured
Oh,
the black sheep or Tommy Boy movie. When they're running from the cop and he pulls him over and he's like, do you know how fast you were going?
I don't know. This thing could get up to like was like
He's like, I got a Hemi V8 6-liter and under the hood and a bottle of NOS in the back, so I could get it up to 120.
5
5
miles an hour.
And usually when I pull people over, they go on the side and they're right on the yellow line. I just picture
They're on the row ads.
I'm laughing. I'm dead. I just pictured they're like, go, the judge is coming, and he's just going.
They're parked. They're like a drive-through. It's like, yes, I'd like 2 chalupas, please.
Oh god.
But it is the hilarity of that moment, though. It's like, they're in the middle.
He's right behind them in the drive-thru.
He's not even driving. He's just standing there. It's like a bicycle cop. There's no siren. It's just a bell. Ching, ching. Get out of the car, please.
What's funny about this is we're laughing harder. No comedy whatsoever in this movie.
Oh my god!
At all.
Not an ounce of it.
And we're laughing louder than we did last week.
Not an ounce of it.
Fuck! Oh my god, that's a really good point.
But it is. But what didn't you like about it though? Because that was the thing that just instantly threw me off with the chase scene.
I liked it. It was short.
Which I liked that it was short though.
Yeah.
I hate these long drawn out chase scenes. I mean, it's
Gone in
different.
60 seconds when they have like a 10-minute long quarter
Right.
drag.
I'm sorry, no one's doing 90 through like Washington D.C. for like 3 hours. Like it's just not. I mean, one, there's too many potholes. You're wrecking your car quick. Like there's not a road in D.C. that doesn't have potholes. So it's like
They just turned down Maine. What they don't know is there's like the Tuesday Pride Parade. They just go scream and stop.
And Dredd never comes out of character. He's like, I think there's a civilian down.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Well-
That's
So there's a.
go ahead.
It's like they
I love
demolish
this
this
movie.
guy
I
in the street.
fucking love this movie.
And, well, we're not getting into the bad though. Fully. That was just one thing that bothered. So
What was?
well, where he says like how he never came out of character. So like one thing anyway. So
We'll get there.
yeah, we'll get there. We'll get
All right,
there.
so I like the chase. We all
Yeah.
have opinions on that. Then I already forgot. I wrote it down after this. So after that chase scene, he goes back and has to pick up a rookie.
That's when he gets the rookie.
Which was that I find to be very attractive.
No, she was good. She was good.
Anderson, played by, if my laptop would stop fucking around,
Olivia Thirlby.
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 So she was awesome.
Yeah.
She is a mutant in
Yes.
this world.
Psychic.
So, yes. So
She's got
they
psychic
have
abilities.
mutants, but she lucked out as one of the main bad, as Ja Rule points out later in the movie, that usually a mutant has, I made a bad comment.
Yeah.
You
are.
So he says usually mutants have 3 stubby arms or no arms at all, but you look, he's like, you're hot and you can read people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
And so mutants are established, and she's a psychic. So she scored just under passing at the academy. So judge is like, fire her. Like, she's not good enough because he's by the book. But they're like, she's the most powerful psychic we've ever seen. Take her on training day.
And I do like that they established that there's something, because you are at a post-nuclear time. So obviously there's that potential.
I didn't think about that.
The original Dredd didn't have anything like that.
Yeah.
They
Everyone was beautiful.
Everyone, yeah.
Except Rob Schneider.
Oh,
He's beautiful in his own way.
I like Rob.
He's half Asian.
Yeah, he's a handsome man.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he is a cool guy. We saw him at the Manor Theater a few years ago.
I'm jealous.
And he's come back through, and he was good. He was good. But anyways, now I like that they established that because it's, I mean, one, it's, you're talking a comic book thing. It's very common in general, but I like that, when you think about what it's supposed to be for the plot of the movie, it kind of makes sense, but I like that they didn't go off the rails with it. They didn't go off and be like, well, there's mutants and all that. It's like, no, like they've established that some people have at least a baseline psychic ability.
Mm-hmm.
She was the most advanced they've ever seen, but it wasn't even that her powers were like
she could move shit and
right,
make
like
you...
she could sense, like if she was like, she could sense something like from somebody or in another room, but it was very low key. It wasn't just like she's walking around hearing voices, like there's a couple scenes in the movie where she utilizes it, but it's not so much that it was a helpful tactic, but it didn't drive the story very much.
Yeah, it was very she had a muscle that she had to use. It wasn't
right,
this
exactly.
Like, I'm overpowered Rey Skywalker, Palpatine.
Now, but because we're talking about, I'm going to mention something I didn't like though. Because we're talking about the scene where he meets her and finds out that she's a mutant, what I didn't like is that, because he is a very serious character, and he's got a very complicated past, and so when she's, and the way he's introduced is she's essentially in like an interrogation style room,
right?
And
like one-way mirror.
Yeah, and the Chief Justice, who is who they work for, when she's introducing Dredd to her, she's in the one room, and Dredd and the Chief Justice are in the observing room, so she can't see them, but she can hear the Chief Justice talking to her. And she's like, and the way he introduces, she's a psychic, and she's like, how many people are in this room? And she's like, well, there's 2. Tell me about the other guy. So that's when she referenced, like, well, he's a judge. Was he
anger?
She's like, she senses anger, but was it calmness? I forget what it was. She said
she didn't get to say.
No. What she said 2 things. She said anger, but like commitment or something. It was something like, I forget what it was.
Then she was gonna say something,
but then
else,
she was gonna say something else, because she was like, here, actually, I had them.
It may have been calmness.
Hold on.
Anger, but calmed. Something like that.
Hold on, stupid kids. But yeah, so it was like anger. Yeah, it was like anger, but calm. And then she's like, but there's something. And then she's like, that's all.
Yeah.
And so she started like sensing more, but the Chief Justice stopped her. And
I think that was for the viewers.
I think it was, but what I didn't like is that, there is this intriguing story to him of who he is, why he is the way that he is. You learn that in the Stallone movie, like, at least in their storyline, you learn about his past and why he is who he is and how he was kind of created.
Stallone's got a scene when he's talking to her. She's like, I was bred to not have feeling and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, no, you do that to yourself.
Yeah.
So,
so it was interesting that they kind of broached the subject, but then never touched it again. Even in a little bit. Like, there was no other reference, discussion, nothing regarding him, his past, why he is the way he is. It just went from that moment on strictly into like an action movie. Like, it really just went down that rabbit hole. And so
you didn't like that?
I would, well, just because when you talk about character development, there was none. There was absolutely none. He was exactly what you saw in that. And I don't need backup. Like that. Anderson had a bunch of characters, because who she was at the beginning, who she developed, and even as it ended, like you saw her evolve into a solid judge, but still conflicted based on her emotions and her past. Like you saw that with her even towards the end. But
that's an incredible.
But
point.
with Dredd, it was this is who he is. Like he is just this. He's this. Yeah, he's angry, but he's committed. He's focused, and that was it. Like nothing further.
Literally, the only character development you see from him is when at the very end when Anderson's walking away and the smashed homeless guy's not there anymore. And the Chief Justice is like, so is she a pass or a fail? And he goes, pass. Like that's it.
That's it. Like
that's it.
Right. Like okay. Like
a little soft
like,
side.
He passed her, but she also kind of saved his life, so he kind of had to. But I mean, regardless, like so that's something I didn't like is that they opened the door for it, and then I don't know if there was. I mean, if the movie had done well, I've got to assume that they were hoping for sequels.
I've read that because it did so poorly.
Yeah,
that's what said no.
That's what I'm hoping is that was kind of what they were expecting. But just the fact that they didn't do anything further with his character kind of bothered me a little bit because he is an intriguing person, and why he is the way that he is important. I think it's important to who he is and how he operates. And so I think they missed a little bit of an opportunity there. I get in that moment, don't do it because that it left that. But
that's one of those things where like immediately you're like, oh, but he's sad because his mom beat him.
Right.
You're like, okay,
exactly. But at some point they really just didn't do anything with it, and I just kind of felt like there was missed opportunity there because if you weren't, and you have to wonder, was there cut scenes? Was there something else? Because why open the door and then just leave it swinging? Like
that's where I think it was literally just like they wanted to
do sequels, and they
as a horror movie guy, I hate when you see the monster in some movies. Like it is so much scarier what you don't see or what you don't know. Like I've been watching Suits, that lawyer
I like
show.
that show.
And like you know how Spectre and Donna have that ritual with a can opener and thumbtacks. I'm only in like almost season 4, and no one's thought of like the writers haven't been like, okay, this is it, and they finally tell you yet. Please don't tell me if they do. But like I love that you're just like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
And it's just so much better not knowing.
I mean, like we were talking about Stallone movies on the way up. I mean, like Demolition Man, the 3 she cells. You know how to use the 3 she cells? Like they don't ever describe it.
Yeah.
Your brain still racks.
Yes.
How on earth do you wipe yourself with 3 seashells?
Yes.
In the she shed without
down by the seashore.
Right? Like it's like nothing but pain pops into my head.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're talking like a conch shell, and that's even weirder. Like, I don't know what the hell they're using.
Like on something.
Do you need a partner? What is going on here? Am I paying extra for that? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. But they cracked.
They don't tell you.
But they cracked the joke.
Constantly.
Rob Schneider again.
Yeah. Oh my god.
You gotta love it. But then they let it be.
Yeah.
And so, but at least, so it's funny when they do that. But
I do get it. It's and like speaking of character development for Anderson, she's scared. There's at one point when they're going up the flight of steps and he's like, call it out, and she's like, 2 perpetrators up, blah 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 down, and he's like, not to me, over the radio. And so she does it. You see her training.
Yeah.
And then they keep moving up, and there's that point where he's like, there's that dude who's shooting at them, and she had to dispatch him.
Yeah.
And he's like, shoot him.
Yeah,
and she's just staring, judge him.
She's like, judge him.
And she's like, yes, sir. And then hesitates to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Then they keep going, and she finally gets to break out, and with DMX character, she like goes in his mind, and you see like this guy's like, oh, I can think of some real fucked up shit. And it like freaks her out, but then she comes back and she's like, she doesn't even say it, but in your head you're like, she's had let's say she's probably 25 20, let's call her 20 years she's lived looking in fucked up people's minds. So how fucked up is she in there? But she's calm and sweet and collected, and then she makes him piss his pants. Then she goes up and she's just clearing rooms, shooting motherfuckers.
She becomes badass.
You absolutely see character growth.
She becomes the judge that you hope that that she could be. But then even at the end, like she's like,
she lets the computer guy go.
Yeah,
because
I think the scene where she pops the one guy because Dredd's like, take him out. So then later on, when they break into that one apartment, and it's the mother. And of course, that's the
wife of
the guy that she shot.
Yeah.
So in her mind, it's like, At that point, I think that was the turning point. She realized
she's like, I've had the worst,
right.
or I've done the worst so far.
But then, like you mentioned, the computer guy, like she saw that. Yeah, I mean, he was very culpable and everything, but then she saw what he had to, what he went through and what they did to him, and so she's she took sympathy, which is not what a judge is necessarily supposed to do.
They even pointed out, he was like, why didn't you do this? She was like, well, we're supposed to have, extenuating circumstances or something. Yeah. And she let him go.
Yeah, which, I mean, in her mind was the right thing. And I don't think it was necessarily a bad call. I mean,
well, then he went on to do Star Wars. So
yeah, I mean,
if that's the guy,
I don't know. I mean, you saw even Dredd, at least to some extent. Like when they you reference like the homeless guy in the beginning, and they're like, what's the call? And it's like, well, it's vagrancy, 4 months in this, and he's just like, well, we got other things to deal with, so just don't be here when we get back. So you saw even Dredd kind of have a moment of like, look, there's bigger things to deal with here than this homeless guy. Like
they're when the 2 teenagers come up and they're trying to shoot him, and then
even that,
they get Snoop Dogg gets out of his handcuffs and takes the girl, and he shoots a couple rounds off, dives down, says stun, screams stun, and zaps the 2 kids. I wrote that down as a note. I was like, that's cool. He actually
didn't just these kids were trying to kill him,
and they're just kids, but he had a little mercy.
Yeah,
of course, that poor homeless guy, that homeless guy was told to move, and then of course he didn't move. Then he gets it in the end. The damn freaking door comes down on him. I mean, come on,
fixing the problem.
So
those were little things that I think they could have done without. Did they really need that scene?
So the what?
Do you think the door coming down on the homeless guy?
That's the only bit of dark.
That was kind of the comedy thing,
right?
Right.
Well, karma.
Yeah, fuck. Get a job.
He was told to get and move, right?
He had a job.
He had the warning.
We were just talking about it. Do what the cops say.
They
don't break the law.
Or Dredd always says, "Negotiations over. Yeah. Sentence is death."
They wouldn't have had to blast.
Maybe that was his sentence.
It was never closed to begin with.
Yeah,
that's the biggest plot hole that I didn't like.
What's that?
Say that again. Okay, we'll do that to the. Okay, so moving ahead, bodies falling. One thing I did like to note, they said 1 out of 5 rookies don't survive their first day. 20% of rookie judges die their first day in the field.
Which, I mean, I could see it. I mean, it's nothing but firefights. I mean, they also said they can only respond to 6% of calls.
Yeah, it's basically Baltimore. When they toss the bodies out down the thing, when they slow-moed them before they hit the ground, the first person view, I got a little I felt like I was falling. I thought that was excellent cinematography.
You started freaking out on the couch.
It put you in that kind of feel.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the Gatling gun scene. So they're slowly moving up, and they set up these 3. So
that was crazy.
Imagine a Jenga stack, and the center's hollow. So just all the outer walls of this building are the apartments. So all the doors are facing the center, and it's just this big open. But apparently, this was filmed in an actual apartment complex in South Africa or something.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true, but I'm sure those exist. And
I'm sure they definitely exist. I mean, there's hotels and stuff like that and stuff
So they're on the 100 and somethingth floor, and they set up these 3 giant floor-mounted Gatling guns on one side, on the east side wing, and then Dredd's on the west side, and they just open fucking fire, and it's just this pandemonium. Mowing down, chopping down civilians, breaking the walls, just fucking 50 caliber.
That was insane. I mean, that's
50 millimeter.
Like when Webby mentioned the Matrix earlier. It's that one opening, which is that one scene there, which is just
I'm surprised that whatever building above
it was still standing
didn't come down.
I thought that too. I'm just how is this
Poof, poof, poof.
Unless it was made out of steel. Maybe it had a chance.
That wasn't. What did I call that? That wasn't a structural wall.
Yeah, it wasn't structural. wasn't
load bearing.
Yeah, it wasn't load bearing.
So that actually reminded me an emporium, on a cruise ship. If you're on the bottom floor and they got this whole just all open forum.
Yeah,
and it's just everything's surrounded. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, which is cool.
It's awesome.
But that was intense. It was just because it's funny because you always get that from the outside. You have, someone's out there with a chopper and they're just blasting through the wall, but from one side of the building to the other,
men,
just
women, children,
this thing.
just flying through. There were I think there was a scene where they were a family was sitting down at the table, just bunkered down, and they're just mowed and blown apart. I love the scene when he's just running. I don't know how far it was one of those Gone in 60 Seconds or Fast and Furious, like quarter mile. He's running for like 20 minutes on like 4 apartments side hallway.
I thought, like with the Gatling gun, I thought they kind of reserved the violence.
Really?
Because
I mean, you could have had
because if you think about like all the other scenes where heads exploded, this and that, if you get hit by a 50 caliber, it's not going to leave a hole in you.
Well, I think
it's gonna shoot you. It's gonna cut you in half.
So here's the difference, though, and you saw this in the movie, where they showed the most violence was people that were on slow mo. If they weren't on slow mo, it was usually more standard. Just you get shot, you die.
That's a very
and so the only time they really showed the true violence, like the goriness,
because you didn't see like a whole lot of gore in that gun scene.
Only with the slow mo.
They got mowed down, but like maybe with a regular caliber, but not a 50
It was
caliber.
pretty much just like if you're not on slow mo, you had a heart attack. If you're on slow mo, your head exploded and your guts are everywhere. Like it was intense deaths. But if you're clean, then you just fall over and die.
Pete Davis is listening to this podcast. He's like, yes.
I don't know.
Travis.
I was going to say,
Travis.
Pete Davis is like, why the hell is he talking about me?
I had nothing to do with this
accountant in Montana. But the director's listening. He's like, yes, I did that on purpose. Slow mo.
I mean, that was my takeaway from it. Because that's why I just noticed
cool.
that they always made that more intentional effort when they were on slow mo versus not.
I liked the part when he's running through, like an explosion on the wall happens and he gets pushed over into another wall and then like just falls. He just pancakes. Like it's so human, and he drops his gun. And I think I was trying to watch it. I think the eagle and like the shoulder armor on his right shoulder was dented out for the rest of the movie.
Oh, might have been.
Like I was trying to pay attention to it because I looked at Anderson's and she had like it's like a shoulder, and then under under the shoulder armor is like a little bit of upper like arm kind of bit, and it seemed dented. Okay. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. So
did not pay that close attention.
I love this movie.
So one thing Webby and I were talking about on the way up, and because he pointed it out, was so in the movie, obviously you have to question, why are these 2 judges stuck there? So there's we'll talk more. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But there are some other judges that do come because they are able to get some distress calls out. Other judges respond. However, those judges are being paid by Mama $1 million to take out Dredd. Yes. And so there's, obviously, so when Dredd first kind of encounters them, there's like initial second where it's just like, okay, you're our backup. He very quickly snuffs it out because they only ask about him. 2. And he's like, well, there's 2 of us here. And he's like, so that's when he realizes that they're not there to help. So there's a whole firefight battle between them. And
God.
Do you want to talk about what Webby mentioned this? Webby liked this part though.
Well, the thing is though, what does $1 million do for you in Apocalypse? Like,
honestly, then it might have been a lot more.
What, buy you some freedom?
To be fair, it's credits, so we have no idea. Like what credit.
I don't know.
Worth.
I mean, if you cuss, you get dinged like 15,000 credits. So.
Oh
shit! We're in the hole then.
Just talking about, I can't remember how many it was in Demolition Man. we kept getting all the credits every time he'd say a bad word.
And then he wiped his ass.
Yeah. But anyways, I mean, you're right though. I don't know what that would really do in that time, but regardless.
But that was a cool scene. So 4 judges go in, and basically they're there as quote unquote backup. And basically the one judge says, I'll go flush him out. You 3, do some other shit. So they run into each other in a corridor, and he's like, hey, I got your call, that all this shit's happening. And Dredd's like 2 or 1.
Well, yeah. I got called to come back you
to
up
help
or
you
or something like that.
And he's like,
there's
2 of us. And then they start fighting. Are you going to talk about is that what Webby wants to talk about?
What's that?
So the way he kills him?
Well, kind of. Well, not exactly. But so Webby, there was a part where it was just one of the quotes that Webby liked in it.
Oh, so. What was the quote?
Do you remember? Anyways, when he's almost so essentially Dredd's almost done for. Like, it gets to a point where they have Dredd dead. They have Dredd dead to rights.
My bad.
And
I got it right here.
He's got Dredd on the ground.
So baby's like, wait. He says, wait. So to the other judge,
so hold on,
and the other judge is like, wait, are you kidding me? Did you just say wait?
So Dredd's unarmed. He's on the ground. The guy's got his gun on Dredd. So basically,
he shot Dredd. Dredd's bleeding out.
Yeah,
from
so
like
Dredd's bleeding. So essentially, Dredd's pretty much done for. Like this guy is basically judging Dredd and about to execute him, and then Dredd says, "Wait." He's like, "Yeah, what? Wait." He's like, "What?" He's like,
so, from our cinematic view, we're thinking, what's he doing? Just because the guy did ask, the other judge did say, is there anything, you got to say or whatever? And he was, wait. So not even 10 seconds goes on and he's about ready to pop him. And all of a sudden Anderson comes in and takes him out. And
yeah, it is funny. He's like, look at you. He's like, you're Dredd and you're asking someone to wait.
Yeah. Is it because you're so pathetic that you can't, you think you're so hot shit you can't die yet?
Right, like you can't be judged or something like that. I can't remember the quote, but it was just funny because it's like, wait.
I really liked all the judge deaths in that because the first guy they're fighting and you know it's Dredd and the one guy, and I think he took the butt of his pistol, the lawgiver. Yeah, and just fucking bashes his fucking larynx in and like dents it in, and he's like and dies. That was great. Then the girl judge, there was a female judge who was bad, and she's like, I'm going to go find Anderson. They're like, why? And she's like, well, because she'll see me as backup. So either I see her and shoot her, or she sees me first, hesitates, and then I shoot her. But she doesn't realize she's a psychic. So she's like, hey, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And then Anderson doesn't hesitate.
Yeah, it wasn't even like a conversation. It was like, hey, pop. She's gone.
Like psychic flash. Boom.
Yeah, that was funny.
Then there's the third judge, which he had like a shotgun kind of thing. And he's with the other main bad judge. And they're running around. And I think he like blew his face off with something. That was cool. And then Anderson takes out the last one. Those were... Yeah. Because I thought that was... The scene when Dredd gets shot, he's got his back up against like a cement wall in like the slow-mo lab, and the bad judge says armor piercing, and it's like the wall's like 10 feet wide, and he just goes blam, 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 like starts at the left and shoots 1 foot over to the right until he sees the shadow of Dredd go like start slumping down because he's like, I'm just gonna shoot blankly until I hit him, and then that's when Dredd's sitting down and Webb's favorite quote comes up. Yeah, and like. Oh, and then they field dress, and then, so that was another thing with Dredd. He's just like standard field dress, and he like does his fucking suture and all that shit, and then they go after Mama. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, that's Then he kills. Oh, so something. So they get up to Mama. They shoot a bunch of people. Did you notice a couple of those bad guys had like? Were they trying to be? Were the actors being funny? Like they had obviously horrible wigs on. There was like that one tall, skinny, muscular dude who was always with Mama, and then the one skinny black dude when they went down to the phone booth, and he had like clearly like a wig. The hair in this movie.
I think that was maybe that was just the poor. Yeah, they didn't have as much money as they would have liked. Maybe I don't know.
So they go up, they fight Mama, blah 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 blah, kill Mama. Mama has this thing where she's got this little device, a transmitter she puts on her wrist, and it goes into her hand, and she says, if you kill me, this whole place will blow, and we'll all die. So he's like, fuck it, I'll risk it. He clearly, before he was a judge, was a cable guy, because the concept of Wi-Fi range is the whole, like, it made so much sense to me. He's like, do you think we're a kilometer up and with 200 stories of solid cement, do you think that little transmitter is going to reach your Wi-Fi router to the bomb? So he risks it.
I don't care if you're on 2.5 or 5, but you ain't reaching.
It was, I was like, oh my God. It's
you need true. 5 for the data, but you're too far for 2.5.
Yeah, fuck you. You're not going to be able to stream 4K at all. Like, it hit me so hard as a cable guy because I was like, it's so true.
I didn't even think about that. That is too funny.
Like I wouldn't have hesitated. I would have just pushed her. I wouldn't have
you would have been like, you ain't reaching. I mean, oh shit, are there extenders?
Damn you, Cisco. Because you got like a little... He's like, I was just at a kid's house and his PlayStation 17 couldn't read.
He was buffering, so I knew there was a problem already. Like, I saw the kid lag. We're good.
did you check your ping? And then he shoves her out the window. So that hit home for me, and I hope it hits home for you guys.
That was fun. I didn't even
I wrote that. Heartbeat transmitter is a wonderful concept of Wi-Fi RSSI.
That is funny. So back to back, we've had Wi-Fi references for movies.
Oh shit, yeah. And heady references
and
other shit. They Rico in the 95 movie smoked cigars.
He did.
So that's cool. Yeah. So, do we go to the bad?
Yeah, we can go to the bad.
The motorcycle looked fucking stupid, and I didn't like their costumes.
I didn't like the costumes either. I didn't like. I don't know. The helmet was just kind of weird to me. It was just a little too bulky.
It was more comic realistic, where the X clearly like crosses where your eyes are, whereas the Stallone movie, they stop it at the eyebrow basically, so they could see.
Which some of it makes sense for the character and stuff, but
but it just he was clearly wearing like a motorcycle suit with like padding added on, but it the whole time I was like, that's bulky.
Yeah.
You go back and watch the Stallone movie and they're wearing spandex bodysuits.
And it's almost like shoulder pads, essentially.
With shoulder pads and a cod piece.
Which, I mean, obviously nobody's getting the costumes exactly right. I mean, and how do you really?
I like the Stallone ones.
I mean, in terms of a movement perspective, they make more sense.
Yeah.
But
it was more realistic.
Yeah,
you kind of go back to the Batman movie you did see where he's like, I can't move. And they try to figure it out, but so it was cool because it was clearly like I've had motorcycle jackets that looked kind of like that, like the vented leather and all that shit. But it just the motorcycle, just looking at it, I was like, that looks so dumb. It looked like a sperm. Like it just had this big fat front head and then a tiny. They like extended it, and then he's just sitting like all upright.
It was very bulky,
and then the lights on it for the the little cop lights, the blue lights, or like little tiny strip in the front,
like the Stallone movie. It looked
see that
like the Stallone movie just looked like a motorcycle on crack
from the future.
But it looked like one. Like they took it and then just kind of put some bells and whistles on it. And this one they kind of went a little crazy.
It would have been better if those bikes were like hovercrafts.
Which they were in the Stallone movie.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were both.
I didn't even know that. So.
And they malfunctioned.
Yeah. But so one thing I didn't like, and it was a very interesting. It was pivotal to the plot. So when they get there, and when they get to the Peachtree, which is the tower.
Yes.
So when they get to Peachtree,
whatever
they call the block. So obviously they respond there because there was 3 deaths. The 3 people that he referenced being thrown, like that's why they respond is for 3 murders. When they get there, they pretty much very quickly arresting somebody, and they call in. So they're responding to murders. They call in that they're arresting this guy, and they call in that they need a meat wagon for the dead bodies
and a 30-minute cleanup.
In a 30-minute cleanup.
Frank was like, "Well, that's all it takes."
Zamboni.
Yeah, a little blood Zamboni.
Isn't that what they have? Like a little Zamboni that came through?
It came through
brush.
But here's the problem I have. So you have 2 judges responding to 3 murders at this location. They're making an arrest that they've called in, and they've called in for cleanup and people coming.
Oh.
Yet then Mama, she uses her little tech lackey guy. They call in and basically make a claim that they need to run like a test on the building, and they're locking it down. But they call in to take the central control or whatever.
Yeah.
So they call in to the same people and say, we're locking this down. And control's like, okay, well, we will let the justice or whatever it is, we'll let them know, and others basically that this is what you're doing. So what I didn't like is either that is a massive failure in their emergency communications system, or a huge plot hole in that you've got 2 judges there that are responding to a call that have made calls back. Like, people know they're there. People are supposed to be coming already.
Oh shit.
And yet this place gets locked down and no one in the outside knows what's going on.
They pulled a Die Hard.
Until but it isn't until they're finally able to get to because once they lock it down, they radios can't communicate. Wi-Fi blockage. Yeah. So they have to get to a point where they can get outside, which they do at one point on the roof, I think, and then they are able to make a call. And that's how they already would get some judges to come. And there's a lot that goes in that. But I just didn't like that. That's like, wait a minute. Like they like within a 5-minute span, we're arresting somebody here and need additional people. Oh no, we're locking the building down. Okay, well everybody knows, stay away. Like, you've got dead bodies. Like, why would you approve a lockdown right that second? Like, and so that to me was just like huge plot hole. It was just, it.
Or the dispatcher's like, "Fuck this! That guy just cursed at me. I don't give a shit."
Right. So, I mean, obviously, do you have breakdowns in communication, even in emergency communication? Yeah. Absolutely, you do. Things happen. So it's like, obviously, you could chalk it up to all sorts of other things, but that to me was just something that was missed. They went through all the effort of calling in the meat. Like, if they hadn't called in the meat wagon, hadn't done the other steps, then I could see that being plausible. But the fact that they've already communicated back to their command people and said, "Hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what we need here at this location," and then they're able to just lock the place down without anybody questioning a thing. Like, that somebody wasn't like, "Well, hold on now. Like, yeah, you can run your test. However, we got to get the dead bodies out of there first. Like, we're not going to have you lock in dead bodies. Like, that's just weird." So that's something that was just a huge plot hole that I caught really quickly. I was like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah. I guess I didn't want to think about it.
Did you guys notice throughout the whole movie that Mama's scar changed configuration?
I did not. But then I read that on like a goof thing.
Yeah. I read it, and then when I saw it back, I paid attention to that. It's very subtle, but it does change.
That's crazy. I like that. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome you found that, because I did not. I'm one of those people where anytime I watch a movie, I'm like, "Hey, did you notice they have a Samsung Galaxy S8?" And Frank's like, "Why do you see that shit?" Well, I didn't catch that at all.
Also, if you didn't notice, and this is another goof, I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but it's like when they had the dude in handcuffs, and then Judge like threw him over the table. Did you notice his hands were free of the handcuffs?
I didn't catch it there, but I've seen that in other movies, because the stuntman, they'll like try to hold their wrists together, but they're clearly like, that's cool.
And then all of a sudden, magically, his hands are together again.
Man, I'm finding plot holes. He's finding Starbucks cups.
But if the guy was never handcuffed,
that's funny. That's funny.
God, I mean, it's part of the movies where I don't know. Do they do that on purpose, or do they?
I think so.
They just see if you're paying attention.
There's got to be a point where they're just like, fuck it.
The scar could be, I don't know. There could be more to it for that, maybe.
Or kind of like,
well, I don't know. Or they just, I mean, she was doing Game of Thrones. They said, I read she had to keep going back for the filming, so they were just trying to redo it over and over, and it
just didn't do it.
Plus,
right?
I noticed like the first time they showed her, I didn't notice it as much, and then once they referenced who she was and her past, because at first they show her and she's just kind of some kingpin. Then they come out and basically say that she was a prostitute, and she got sliced up by her pimp or whatever. So she basically killed him, took over a bunch of stuff, and became a crime. So like once they referenced that, that's how she kind of got out of that and became this criminal. I'm like, okay, then I noticed it more at that point. So I didn't notice it as heavily when I first saw her. Yeah. Then I noticed the scars more later on.
I noticed her teeth. They started off like black, and then they got brown, and then they just got a little bad. And I did read that was a goof. Like someone pointed out online that they weren't consistent.
Towards the end,
her teeth
were like, wait a minute,
not bad. Like, hey, just brush a little and you're fine.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, they were like black and brown, and like just didn't have any almost.
Well, I think in the beginning, she started off more of just like some like drug dealer is how I kind of felt about her. And then like as it progressed, she's like, no, she's like a kingpin kind of a person. Like, she runs this whole
a queen pin.
Queen pin.
Well, isn't there a movie that just came out? It's called Queen Pin.
Oh, I don't know.
There is an argument that in the Marvel Cinematic TV universe, Kingpin takes on that deaf chick, and he's like, you could become a kingpin, and she's like, I'd be a queen pin, and everyone's like, oh my god, armchair feminism. That TV series sucked. Echo.
I haven't seen Echo yet.
Me either. I refuse to.
Although I did hear that there was a really good episode or cameo from Daredevil. What's his name? That was actually like really good because I like Daredevil. I like the Daredevil series.
It was pretty good.
I liked the guy, and I guess he's in at least an episode of or like a part of Echo. Like he's in there. And
yeah, he's in there. He was in.
He's in a couple of
She-Hulk.
Yeah.
They're all.
He's popped in, but I heard it was like actually like a really good it was really good scene or something is what I heard.
He's a cool character, and the actor's cool.
I
think
like him.
He's actually like a black belt in something. Too.
Yeah, but he's
really blind.
Yeah, he's
Not
actually
really.
no, but he does a really good job. I mean, he's no Ben Affleck, but poor Ben Affleck.
I like Ben Affleck.
But that was that time period where there was nobody making a good superhero movie. I mean, yeah, you just had those couple of years where it was just nothing but bad.
Yeah,
and you kind of felt bad for the people in them because it was just everyone was trying it and it just wasn't working. I mean, you think about it, I mean, even took Ryan Reynolds a round before, a couple rounds before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the word. I mean, even for him, like he tried Green Lantern, that sucked. Then he tried to be
the first
Deadpool, and that sucked. And then it's like then it came,
He was like trying to make that movie himself for like.
Well, he was.
15
Well,
years.
I think that's why he did the one because he wanted to do a Deadpool. He's like, if this is the way that I can at least get it started, like okay, like,
funny. Let the people who know the fucking art criteria or the product make the movies interesting, and then you get a good movie. So the lawmaker, their guns. Something that we didn't bring up is the judges.
I missed that we didn't get that in there. But anyways, but yeah, the lawmaker is a...
Did they not?
I don't think so. I don't remember it. I mean, and you can't do it without the Stallone. I mean, Stallone is just
That's definitely going in the opening.
I love Stallone. He's one of my... Webby doesn't like him. I love him.
I like the Rambo, the Expendables. Outside of that...
what was it? My mom...
What's that?
The movie wasn't
Stop or my mom will shoot. that Schwarzenegger tricked him into doing. I love that. I love that so much. Their rivalry got so big that Schwarzenegger pretended to sign on for that just so Stallone would jump in and do it. And Stallone just did it. You got to think I kind of have a feeling Stallone kind of just knew anyways and just said screw it. I'm just gonna do this dumb move. I mean, they've all done those. They've all done those types of things. At least a lot of them have, where they've just done something where really? You did what? I mean... Twins. I mean, it's no Kindergarten Cop, though. So that's the downside. Because Stallone did it, and he did Kindergarten Cop. Everybody loved... I mean, well, it was a terrible movie that gave you some really funny moments.
Kindergarten Cop. You said Stallone? Or?
I'm Schwarzenegger. I'm saying they've all done, those types of just, really random, off-the-wall kind of thing.
I love Kindergarten
I'm sure you
Cop.
do. I'm sure you do. I can't stand the bad guy in it.
What about Vin Diesel when he played
the pacifier?
Pacifier. I mean, they try to incorporate he's a badass, but he's in one of those kids movie kind of thing.
Wasn't The Rock in the Tooth Fairy or something?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah.
He gets harassed by that one.
So the lawmaker.
It's
their gun. It's DNA check. They did it in both movies, and it's in the comics. Basically, unless a judge is holding the gun in the Stallone movies, you get zapped and cooked. And in this movie, it's amazing. The bad guy, Judge Dredd, Dr. Dre. Sorry, I fucked up that bad joke. The bad black guy. So that sounds worse than the other jokes I was making. What is his name? Let's actually say his name.
I don't know. You've just been saying random.
Wood Harris.
Wood Harris.
Wood Harris. He played K. He's the main bad guy that they've been.
He's the one that they're arresting. That the mama and them are trying to say oh no, they can't arrest this guy because
he knows too much.
He'll spill the beans.
So he grabs Judge Anderson's lawmaker and he's like, I always wanted to shoot one of these, and she's like, go ahead, or she pretends to be scared, which I thought was great acting and direction to egg him on to shoot. And it goes DNA not right, and he's like, what? And then it blows off
blows
forearm and hand off.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I read that those prop guns were built off of a Glock 17. So I don't know guns. I don't own guns. I don't know anything about them. They're bad.
Glock?
I think it's German. So, but I was not a fan of their design. Watching the Stallone movie, I liked that design. The only thing I didn't like is they said they were the lawmaker It's a 25 round magazine firing a 22 millimeter projectile.
Right.
At first I thought he said caliber, so I rewinded real quick. 22 millimeter projectile in a handgun with 25 rounds.
The amount that those guns fire and the size of them, and then I mean, it's just. I mean, obviously, you just with a movie like that, there's almost nothing you can do. You have to be far fetched.
Yeah, it's infinite ammo.
You know, we're gonna have to go into silent mode. And the little silencer pops up.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That
was awesome. But it's ridiculously unrealistic because they had Hot Shot, which was like a burning bullet. It had flares. It had twosies. It fucking had all these things built into a gun, and you can barely get fucking like 17 rounds in a Glock 19.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't there a spoof where I think it was when he was trying to find the armor piercing, but every single one that he tried to click to, it'd be like zero ammo, zero ammo.
He was like armor piercing, empty.
Yeah. Empty.
Flare gun, empty.
Yeah,
something else,
good.
empty.
Yeah. But anyways, I think that was one of the spoofs where even though the gun said empty, it still shot.
Oh shit. I'll have to go back and check that. Or did he end up finding something that would shoot? I wonder. That's good. I got to go back and check.
Well, I think he does. I think that, doesn't he
They eventually get more ammo, and I could have sworn the magazine he puts in his little pouch said Glock on the bottom. I think it was an actual Glock mag.
I mean, it's just like anything.
I mean clip.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about guns.
Yeah.
Clip. They're called clips.
They're called clips.
And the whole thing's called a bullet.
Clip. And and you can just, and if you didn't know, they could have picked up any clip from any gun used and just put it in any gun they wanted to.
Because that's how
That's how movies work.
Right here. So most of the settings on the gun were 2 of these names were visible and have 0 levels, showing them the LED readout. And the type obscured readout is probably rapid fire. When he calls for high explosive, high end, suddenly readouts for all ammo types show 25 rounds for each ammo remaining. And then the readout for the type obscured RF probably reads 50. So whatever that means.
I think the thing is, a movie like this, though, I don't think you can get too hung up on that. Because, I mean, like if you watch like more of like a standard like police movie, cop movie, if you watch more of like a standard military, like I will pick apart that kind of stuff far more because there's so much that they do wrong that's just gross. Like like when when we joke about like I'm out, toss me another magazine, and they're just sharing like, okay, unless you all are shooting almost the exact same gun,
you're holding a Tommy gun and he's got an M1 Garand.
Exactly. Like when I was watching like I actually liked it because they I got Dylan and I have been watching Reacher. We watched this season of Reacher, and there was a part where he goes and gets guns, and he goes and gets some handguns.
Why did he get a 19 and gave a 17 to the skinny guy and the girl, and then this giant fucking Reacher grabs a 19?
I think a lot of it was preference, like what they like to use, and he and so but I like that. But everybody got different guns, and so there wasn't really parts in there where they're sharing stuff. I think there might have been a part where they
but you can get a 17 mag in a 19, but not vice versa.
Right. And then
one chick got a Beretta.
Right.
It's like, well, fuck you. You're on your own.
Exactly. So if you've got comparables, then there's some sharing you can do. But yeah, I mean, if you're shooting 2 completely different makes, like you're up a creek. So I always find that interesting in a lot of movies because there's always a lot of just picking up random guns, and it's like, no, unless you're all shooting, Glock 17s,
Yep.
Good luck. Like,
it's just ammo in quotes.
Right. I mean, now when you're talking, when you're talking the actual ammunition, sure, as long as it's again the right calibers that gun can shoot, like cool. Like if you have this and it's a 9mm, well then you're loading it with 9mm.
Yeah. Luger, Parabellum. Right. I think that was a joke because they're the same. Sorry, not that I know anything about guns. Guns are bad.
Shit.
Well, Luger. Well, it was Luger. He was the bad guy in Superman.
Lex
Luger.
LEX.
And he shot a Ruger in World War II.
I said movies like this, like you can't like I do agree. I do think the guns in the Stallone, I like them a little bit more.
Except for those giant rifles that the guards They were like massive super soakers.
I think that's what it was. I think it was like a super soaker, and like they basically just like, we need a big gun. Like when my kid's birthday party's over,
little bastards left all the super. Oh, that's something that bothered me. He fucking like kind of old school 80s movie held his pistol, his lawmaker in Dredd. He never had like when they were clearing rooms, they kind of had proper tactical bullshit, but every time he was holding it down at like bicep height. Like an old. Now, I read that he tried to base his Dredd off of Clint Eastwood, and that kind of reminisced to me like an old school cowboy, like elbow tucked in, shooting off the hip. So I was kind of wondering if he did that on purpose.
I think so because I'm sure he did.
But it bothered me because I noticed he had 3 different levels. He had like old school cowboy shooting off the hip, chin height, and then a few times he actually kind of aimed it, but.
Well,
it was.
I mean, you see that a lot, though.
You would think a country singer turned actor would know how to hold a pistol, though. Keith Urban. Sunday morning, man, she woke up.
But again, I mean, I think a movie like this, obviously they're not going for those gross accuracies. Like, as again, if you watch a lot of other cop movies, and then you can, pick apart the way they're carrying, the way that they're aiming. There's so much that they do wrong, even in a lot of movies where you're just it. And I love that. At least for a brief period, I turned April and Dylan into snobs with that though too. So
I'm so proud of you.
It was awesome. So where they're just like, that's not how you hold a gun. I'm like, how would you know? We don't know guns.
Francis, guns are bad. Francis does that too. She's like, is that wrong? And I'm like, I'm so proud of you.
I mean, like, if you don't mind a broken wrist, sure, go for it. Like, because that thing's gonna kick. And I still love that. There's like a it's like a. I mean, I see like on TikTok and other things. There's a guy on like a fire. He's like a firearms instructor in a range, and he's I don't know exactly what he's firing. It's a revolver. And he's basically showing them like how he's holding it, and like he's in there, and it's the way he's like turning his hands and stuff, and then like he goes to like point, and like he's showing the people in there, and he's twisting his arms around. You're just kind of like, you don't really do that like in the range with a loaded firearm. Like you would show them those sorts of things before you load and aim. But regardless, so he's doing this, and then he goes to extend, and he pulls the trigger because he's got his finger on the trigger the whole time. Which I will say. If you're around firearms, you always treat it, unless you're ready to actually shoot, you never move your finger over the trigger. So he's got his finger, and he goes to, and he pulls the trigger, and it almost hits him in the face. And this dude in the video is like, "Did you mean to do that?" He's like, "Yeah."
Oh my god, yes, I have seen that. Oh my god,
it's just so funny because like he just got
called, so full of shit.
Called out. It was just like, oh god, what an idiot! What an idiot! People. It was too funny, but. Anyways.
So, if you guys had to give a rating, so we're gonna try and make a stogie.
We just like I said, there's 3 of us, 3 stogies. We'll say 3's the top, 1's the bottom, 2's middle of the road.
Oh man!
You mean for the movie or the cigar?
The movie.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you because you went 15 yards away from your mic.
This is what he does.
I should not have brought a rocking chair.
Well, you're old. that's what old men do.
At least it's not squeaking this time.
What do you mean squeaking?
Last episode, you were talking and you're like, squeak.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay, lubed up.
I mean, I would give it out of 3. I would give it a 2 out of 3.
Oh shit.
And it's just because, like I said, when I think about I think about the character development of Dredd, when I think about at least the plot hole as I see it, and just a few things like that. Those are just some things that kind of bothered me a little bit. I think as a whole, it was a good movie. Worth the watch if you like that style of movie. But I think like I wish there was a little bit more of the character of Dredd and not just here's this hard-nosed guy and that's all he is. I mean, there's nothing else. I mean, he almost doesn't. There's almost no even conversations with him outside of just him judging people almost essentially like it's almost robotic is how I kind of felt about it, which isn't a bad thing to the character, but I mean, when like I said, when you open the door for development and then you never even touch it, that just bothered me a little bit more. So I just think there wasn't enough development of of his character, and there wasn't. And I think there was just a few small things I just can't quite go a 3.
I had that same conversation with Francis last night. I was like, if you never even touch it, like it just
if you never touch it, then I mean, it's
a bad movie.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, if you never, I mean, you gotta at least touch it. Just touch it a little bit, just a little bit. I mean, it can be an accident. Just brush by it. Brush by. That's all I'm asking.
Sneeze.
Just brush it. Approach the subject. Tingle. Just tingle the hairs. Jesus
Tingle the hairs. So, put some hair on it.
Or take some hair off of it. Whatever you choose.
Cigars. I'm gonna be annoying. Can I give it a 2.5 cigars?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. I didn't know if I was breaking it because I don't think it's a middle of the road movie. I don't think it's a perfect movie. We will watch my perfect movie someday, and I think it's gonna kind of like freak you guys out what my perfect movie is.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's see, Jaws.
No, but it has Matt Damon in it. It's I don't know why. That's like my favorite movie of all time. I don't know why. I think it's perfect. It's really weird.
Good story.
But I'll probably cut that out because I don't want people to know yet. I want to save that. But I want to say 2.5 because it wasn't perfect. It was so fucking good. And I don't think it was middle of the road. So if we were doing like a 1 out of 10, I would give it like a 8. Like I'm judging it based on like how much I enjoyed watching it. And I was super excited to rewatch it. I was super happy while watching it. Francis loved it. My brother-in-law came in and watched it with us. And like, Eric, sorry if you're listening, he never stops talking. And like, he was pretty much silent during the movie. He was engrossed in it. Like, he knows he talks too much. Don't worry. We love you, Eric. But we just watched it. And and I'm one of those people. I like watching movies, and Frank and I love watching movies and making fun. We like Mystery Science Theater 3000 movies all the time together, but we just fucking watched it, and I really, really like that movie. So I give it a 2.5 cigars. Webby, what would you give it?
I'm gonna say 2. I probably would have said 1.5 after the first time I saw it.
Really?
Yeah, I think
less than average.
I think they went a little bit over the top with the gore. I think they could have made it a little bit less gory. I don't know what the intent on the gore was.
Is this a Dad Said Fudge thing?
No.
That reminded me of something I forgot about to mention I didn't like, but go ahead.
Oh, you didn't like the gore?
No, well, there was something I didn't like that they mentioned. But
I mean, I think there was a couple scenes that, okay, a dude's head gets blown off, or 3 people, obviously thrown out of a window 200 stories. It's going to make a splash. Did they really need to show the splash?
That's such a good way to put it.
But honestly, I think reading into it and then talking about it, I think it's made me decide instead of a 1.5, go to a 2, just because of the intent behind the slow motion and all that.
Yes.
It was all cinematic, made on purpose, and not just to gross you out.
They didn't literally kill people. They're
like,
but let's make a movie.
The gross
factor,
the gross factor was kind of like, see, I don't know. It's not that I don't like gross movies. I loved Saving Private Ryan. That movie was pretty gory too.
Are you a horror movie guy? Because I'm super biased.
When I was younger, that was my jam. Watching like Friday the 13th.
I think it's the context of the movie though too. Like like you said, like you watch Saw, you're watching it, you don't care about the storyline. You're watching it because you want to see what kind of messed up things are going to do to somebody.
He was in the room the whole time, man.
So like, but I mean, certain movies you watch because you're watching it for those things. So if you're not necessarily watching it for that, then it is a bit. So, and this is one of those ones where I can see that because
there's a lot of movies where, you might know that the dude gets mowed over, but are you gonna show the blood hitting the windshield? Kind of, in this movie, yes, okay, and that's where.
So rewatching Stallone's movie, it was not very gory at all. The one time I noticed that was surprisingly gory was, spoiler alert, was when the big evil war robot is holding that German guy from Beer Fest, and he's like, rip his arms off and his legs and save his head for last. And it shows the robot's feet, and then you hear the arms get pulled apart, and they dripped thick blood. Yeah. And I was like, that is like the one shockingly gory.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't show meat and stuff, but...
So one thing I thought was interesting, though, when you talk about, like, especially, like, when them, like the bodies and things like that I thought was... I mean, maybe it's just me trying to understand it in my head, but so the way that he knows the drug that those guys were on that were thrown over the balcony, that were killed, the 3 bodies, was because of the burns.
In his mouth.
And, but it was funny...
When he lifted his upper lip and...
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was interesting just the way that he noticed that, and it was just, I don't know, just something about that just kind of threw me off. I was just like,
So when I watched that, I thought that was the guy's rotten teeth that were pulverized. Yeah. I thought that was like liquefied tooth.
Well, I thought that's what they referenced. I thought they made it sound like because of the fall am I wrong?
I don't know.
Like, because I don't know. Maybe I just heard the scene wrong, but there was just something about it that was just kind of odd. That was just like, yeah. Anyways, I don't know where my head's at.
He was chewing coffee. So we would all suggest people watch this.
I think it's a good watch.
I think it's
for entertainment and the storyline.
If you like action movies, if you like kind of sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, if you like comic themed movies, like, I think it's a good watch. There's no comedic aspect to it. No intense storyline to it. It's a pretty straightforward movie, but it's a good watch. I think it's worth it if you enjoy this relative style. So I'd say go for it.
So we all get a watch.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Moving on to, we went good, we went bad, and now we go stogie. Sorry, Paul.
It's all right. It's my fault.
They were all right. So, like I said, we were smoking the Rough Rider Sweets. They are a flavored
Indian head.
Well, I don't think these are technically flavored or infused. I think they're just cigars that have a sweet tip to them. I could be wrong. I guess I should actually pull them up. So, reading off of cigarsdaily.com, the Rough Rider Sweets, they are, this says the shape was a Toro, so I guess these were 6x52 ring gauge. The wrapper is a Connecticut Ecuadorian, so that might confuse some cigar people. So and I actually misspoke, I think I called the Perdomos a Connecticut Broadleaf last episode, and they are Connecticut Shade. So what happens is the Connecticut Shade, those are typically your lighter tobacco leaves. They're literally kind of grown in the shade, so they don't get as much sunlight. So they're a little thinner, a little lighter, and that's how you get that slightly lighter, like lighter in color, but you also get a slightly lighter. They don't like produce as much sugars and stuff. So editing that back there.
Yeah.
But so these are Connecticut Ecuadorian. So my understanding is Connecticut Shade is kind of like literally in Connecticut, America, but it's just how you grow it. So it's just called a Connecticut. So these were probably grown in Ecuador, but in the Connecticut Shade style. The binder was Dominican and the filler was Dominican, which is really cool because somewhere on a podcast or something, I heard someone say all cigar filler is Nicaraguan. Like that seems to be the thing, but this is specifically a Dominican. It's considered a mild medium. Oh, they do call it an infused or sweet cigar. I don't think it was flavored though. It was just a sweet tip. Yeah. It was basically what you were smoking.
Factory.
Factory smokes. So the tip's just sweet, but this was not my first Rough Rider. That's what she said.
He's been with a few. Long live DMX.
It wasn't my first. I've had a few of them. It's a fine cigar. It's kind of budgeted as of this episode. They're $5.08. Bless you. $5.08 per on cigarsdaily.com. So they're not, they're like that mid range. The Drew Estate ones are like $3 depending on the size. But I liked it. It's a fine cigar. I'm probably not gonna buy more because
because there's a lot, especially when you talk about the price. There's a lot of other good stuff in there, and I like the two things I want to note. Like, one, you hear Jono mention these prices. Like, you can get fine cigars at that price. Please do not think you need to go out. If you want to go spend $50 on a cigar, by all means, go for it if you can afford it. You can find really good fine cigars for $3, $5, $7, $8, $9, $10. Like, whatever your budget is, you can find good cigars. You also notice him mention a lot of other countries and places that aren't Cuba. So a big misconception is that, well, Cubans are the best. You can get fine Cubans, but you can get fine cigars made anywhere and with almost any type of combination of leaves and filler and styles. Like, I think a lot of people get hung up on like Cubans being the best, and like, and I think it's just, you go historically and, embargo, other things, other reasons why. And I mean, and they can make some fine cigars. A lot of Cuban cigars aren't even actually made in Cuba.
Correct. Like Cuban style, or they're just fake.
Right.
I've on podcasts and YouTube shows that I watch constantly, what I'm hearing is like people that don't have access to Cubans want Cuban. It's the whole grass is greener.
And that's exactly what it is.
Cuban's kind of shit now.
Well, that's the thing is it really was. It was, there was good cigars. Then all of a sudden you got embargoes. You couldn't get, so it was like, it became that I want it because I can't get it.
Yeah.
And the price became because you're not supposed to have it or it's hard to get.
Yeah.
And so it jacks the price up. And so you're overpaying when you can get a very good, if not far better cigar that's made in so many other places. So it's just one of the things, like, if you have the funds and you want to spend and enjoy something fine and from anywhere, go for it. But definitely don't get so hung up on those types of things. Try different stuff and just enjoy it. I mean, like, if you go to like a true cigar shop, one of the things they typically will ask is like they'll usually ask, a couple different questions, but one of the things I get asked a lot is, where do you want your cigar to come from? Do you want a Dominican? Do you want a Nicaraguan? Do you want one from Honduras? And they sometimes will have Cubans, sometimes from Cuba, sometimes from other places. They're just Cuban styles. But I mean, for me, I'm like, I don't care where it's made. Yeah, I look for, how heavy is it? I look for the taste. I look for the smell. Like, there's things that I look for more so. I don't care where it was made. Now, I have some that I particularly like more just because I've had them and I enjoy them. But like, I don't get so hung up. Some people do. Some people, it's, once you get to a certain point, like anything, you get a little snobbish with what you smoke or what you drink or anything. We all get that way. Oh, yeah. But if you're like us and you're still just kind of starting out, just don't get so hung up on those little things. It can be a $5 cigar made in the States, and it could be an absolutely phenomenal cigar.
Yep.
So,
because a lot of when the embargo happened, like a lot of those Cuban families went to other countries like Nicaragua, Honduras, Dominican Republic.
Right.
So you're getting Cuban cigars from places that are not Cuba. Right. It's just a name. And like, I've even heard that the soil is basically just shit in Cuba now, and like you have all these like volcanic ash soil from all these other countries, and like it's just literally better in other places.
Yeah,
because they just didn't run it.
Well, it's
freaking dry.
Right. So,
and it is long filler. I just looked up, they are long filler in this thing.
Yeah. In
this cigar. Sorry, I'm trying to find. Sorry, go ahead, Vamp. I don't know why I'm talking.
I was just gonna say we do need to now settle on what will we watch for the next episode.
That's what I'm pulling up.
So it's your turn. My turn.
Yes. So
Webby and I were leaning this way last week. Well, we went with one of yours. I say we go back and have a little bit more fun, and we do Beverly Hills Cop.
All right, so
yes! Beverly Hills Cop. We'll watch. So how about this?
That was the number one on the list.
How about this? Are you guys up for this though?
Uh-oh.
Let's watch all three, and and you guys. Would you guys be up for watching all three?
I have seen all three,
and then comparing, and then we can we'll focus on the first one, but then we'll do a comparison on which one was our favorite.
Are they Are they all on Netflix?
Oh, let me look.
My only worry is I start on call,
Oh,
So my personal time next week is going to be horrible.
We can always save that for the following week.
We can save it. I was just trying to think of something.
I can try and cram them in on like Friday.
Let's.
All right, fine. We'll watch the first one. If you have time and you want to watch any of the additional, so the first one is absolutely on Netflix.
Yeah. Because I just saw that a couple weeks ago.
2 and 3 are not. So let's definitely watch the first one.
Cool.
You could definitely read up enough online about it just to fill in too.
Because I absolutely know of the movies, but I've never actually watched them.
And I think because
childhood classic.
Classic. So the 2 is on like Paramount, Hulu with the premium subscription, a few others, Amazon with the premium.
Paramount. I didn't even know.
Well, I mean, you work for. Well, I mean, the good thing is you work for a company that gives you a lot of that stuff. So, three's the same way. So three's on Paramount, Hulu, Amazon Prime, but all with the premium subscriptions and the Paramount Plus subscription. So you can watch 2 or 3 in some other formats. 1 is on Netflix, so we will absolutely be watching Beverly Hills Cop 1. I want to watch it partly just because it's a classic. It's a great movie. Probably one of the best Eddie Murphy movies he's ever made. The 2 and 3 actually weren't too bad, I don't find, but we'll discuss that more. But it's also, we have the upcoming Beverly Hills Cop series, which I'm super excited about. I love that he's going back. I'm hopeful that it's good. Like I said, I loved the movies.
I think he's starting to make a comeback.
I think he's
like
trying.
For about 10, 15 years in there, it's like he's only kind of like throwing out I think he did Tower Heist, which
I think he I think maybe I don't know if that's what he's going for, just trying to go back a little bit and try to pull back in what he was known for and what he was really good in. Because I mean, you
comedy.
You go to like Beverly Hills Cop. You've got the 3 of those. You had 48 Hours. Like he made some
Coming to America.
Right.
I mean, there's another one right there.
Yeah,
we could talk about that one for days.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
But we'll do Beverly Hills Cop 1. We'll absolutely watch that.
What cigar do you want?
I'll buy all 3 of the cigars for everybody.
Oh,
I'm gonna go to the shop in town probably Monday. I've got an appointment Monday. So I'll probably stop over there after my appointment. So I'll probably go in there. I'll pick something out for us.
So it's a surprise.
It's a surprise.
Awesome.
It'll be a surprise. A surprise. Are you okay over there? You just cold? Yeah.
You're like chattering. Okay, well, that's a good place to end it then.
Sorry.
Hell yeah. So Beverly Hills Cop 1, surprise cigars, and sweet.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in to the second episode, and we hope to keep you guys. I have a cousin's husband-in-law. One of my direct. Yeah, I guess it would be a cousin-in-law.
Cousin-in-law, I guess, whatever. Yeah,
like one of my direct cousin's husbands. He's European, I will say, and he's a cigar guy. He's a cigar guy, and I reached out to him, but I didn't get any response yet. But I'm gonna see if he wants to join.
We'll get some different people on though. Like we'll have your cousin on. We should get your uncle on. For sure.
He would be cool. And I was thinking we could watch like a movie with like biosafety level shit and have Frank.
Ooh, that would
to
be
like
good.
give comments.
That'd be cool. We could watch like Outbreak or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Especially because of the aspect of it.
Yep.
What? That'd be awesome. What do you mean what?
Outbreak.
Well, if you want to watch like a bio movie and
Cuba Gooding Jr. Yeah. Biodome.
Oh, is it just because she works in a bio lab?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was the whole.
Jesus.
So
he's so cold he's lost it. But anyways,
dude, my head is frozen.
So next week we will, or the next episode, it might be recorded next week. We're not 100% sure, but we'll be doing a cigar. Will be a surprise. I'll once I know it, I'll let everybody know. I'll post it. But we're watching Beverly Hills Cop, the original. If you listen to us on all sorts of different formats, I'm not sure where you're listening to us now, but we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, we're on Apple Podcasts. Google Podcasts is going away, so we won't be able to post there.
And they're switching to YouTube Music.
Right. Which, so maybe we'll be on there, but at least Spotify, Amazon, and Apple, so you got us 3. Those are the 3 main I think most people use anyways.
Yep. Like and subscribe.
So we're there.
Stars,
we're on Facebook, Stories and Stogies. So you can find us on Facebook. You can follow us there as well. If you do follow us, reach out. Let us know if you have a movie suggestion, if you've got a cigar suggestion, if you just want to tell us that we suck. Like, I don't care what it is. Well, we want your feedback. We want some advice. We want to keep making this fun, exciting, interesting. And, if whatever you want to know, whatever you want us to do, just let us know.
Hell yeah.
So, all right, people.
Bye.
See ya.
Adios.